Dan Cujo always loved heroes. Ever since he was a kid, he looked up to the colorful men and women who kept our planet safe from monsters and extraterrestrials. Power Rangers, Kamen Riders, Ultramen, Metal Heroes, they all protected our planet and our lives week by week. But everyone loses eventually. It got to the point where the monsters were appearing more and more frequently. It seemed like there were 50 monsters for every hero, and they just kept coming. Soon enough, the human race started to dwindle. Cities were falling, along with the human population. Forests started to grow across the planet. Mankind had to rebuild inside the wreckage of fallen mechs. The heroes are gone, for the most part. Their weapons and other artifacts were left behind. Dan Cujo is a historian who specializes in the heroes of the past. He collects what they left behind in an effort to fight the monster population that is growing around the world. Dan had been traveling across the New World's forested landscape for some time. Over the past several months, Dan had found several small relics that he recognized from his studies. He found 2 small batteries that bore the images of a Tyrannosaurus and a Velociraptor. He also found 3 coins, one with the effigy of a Triceratops, another with a saber-toothed cat, and a third with yet another T-Rex. All of these relics had once held great power, but now they were drained down to the very minimum, and could no longer bring forth the energies they once could. Dan had set up camp near a small stream so that he could examine his newest coin, when he heard a rustling in the bushes. Suddenly, a large green and brown mass sprung from the underbrush and landed before him. It had a body not unlike a brown gorilla, but its hands and feet were scaly and clawed like a lizard's. Its yellow reptilian eyes stared down its scaled snout and directly at Dan. This was the Repto Sapien. An atomic explosion once fused a lizard and an ape into a single being that now wandered through the forest attacking anyone it encountered. This was that creature. Another one? You messed with the wrong guy this time, Kaiju. Dan pulled his right arm up to reveal a golden bracelet with a 3-pronged apparatus. Toku change! Dan spun the apparatus, and he was enveloped by a golden light. Repto Sapien covered its eyes, but when it looked again, it seemed as if the human it had targeted was replaced with a red and gold organism. But it was Dan. His Toku changer had transformed him. He was now clad in red. His hands, feet, and waist were covered in gold. The helmet Dan now wore was red with gold trim, and a golden crest rose above his black visor. Inheritor of the power, Toku King! Dan Cujo had transformed into the hero, Toku King. The Repto Sapien charged at Toku King and brought down one of its large claws. Toku King blocked the creature's attack and pushed the monster backwards. He pushed Repto Sapien back further and further with a series of punches to the creature's gut, followed by a roundhouse kick. Lend me a hand, Ryuki! Drag Saber! Suddenly, a red and silver sword appeared in Toku King's hand. Toku King struck the monster with the sword until it was backed up against the tree. The creature roared in pain. Time to heat things up! Toku King charged at Repto Sapien. The drag saber burst into flames as Toku King swung it across the monster. Toku finish! Repto Sapien fell to the ground before suddenly exploding into atoms. What a grand show! What? Is someone there? Suddenly, there was a flash of bright, white light that nearly blinded our hero. He braced himself for another attack, but lowered his guard when he saw the odd sight before him. A white saber floated in front of Toku King's face. It was beautiful. Silver and gold metal ran across the blade. The strangest part of the saber was the face of a white tiger that sat on the end of the hilt. Imagine his surprise when the tiger's mouth started to move. "My name is Saba. I have been watching you, Mr. Kujo. It is not very often that someone with such a talent for fighting monsters appears in this day and age. I thought all the Henshin devices had been destroyed or drained." Toku King stared at the saber in disbelief, just before remembering an old text that he found in the rubble of a juice bar. Wait a second. I know you. The Saba saber that controlled the White Tiger Zord. "Indeed, I must say I am quite flattered that the humans still remember me after all these years." "I can't believe that you're still active." "Well, I no longer have the energy to control an entire Zord, but I get by. I've been using the remainder of my power to search the morphing grid for anyone who can still access it. That is how I found you, young man. I noticed that you have been collecting artifacts related to the era of heroes." Toku King looked down at his drag saber. "I am. We can't let them get destroyed or fall into the wrong hands. If I can collect more artifacts, I can protect more people." "You truly are a selfless soul. I'll tell you what. I will lend you my power." "Your power? Really?" "Indeed. Not only can I be helpful in combat, but I have fought alongside heroes that use the artifacts you are collecting as well. I know how many of them could be used to their fullest potential, and I can even sense the locations of many." That would be amazing." Saba smiled, but then his face suddenly became stern. "I only ask that you never use these powers for evil or your own personal gain. Many of these powers once had rules that guided them. But this new world has changed the meaning of right and wrong in the eyes of many people across the globe. You say you want to protect them, but can I trust you to use my power only for the betterment of this world?" Toku King answered without a second thought. "I can't sit here and pretend that these powers aren't tempting. In a world with so few humans, they could be used to take whatever one wanted. But all I really want is a world where humans don't have to be afraid of what's outside. I want a world where children can run and play without having to worry about monsters or mutants." Saba stared at Toku King for several seconds before cracking a smile. "Wonderful! It seems that the human race hasn't changed one bit." In another part of the world, a dark figure sat on a throne covered in shadow. Its black hand curled into a fist.
"I can feel it. The Toku Changer is adding more to itself every day. Something else has awakened as well. The Saba saber. I can sense it. If Saba has returned, it is possible that more artifacts will awaken as well. And when they do, they will be mine."
Toku King was created by Paul Kelly Jr., starring Paul Kelly Jr. and Samson West. Edited by Paul Kelly Jr. and Jesse Booth. Written by Paul Kelly Jr. Executive producer Chris Winter. Music by Letterbox. Special thanks to Ian McNeil, Cameron Gowen, Eddie Chang, and all our donors and listeners. Please follow the link in the podcast description to donate and support the show. Thank you.